Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, guys, second take because they just shut down my microphone as I did the first take of this one. This one's a super important one. I feel like this is probably the most important video I've ever done. And I want to share this with you. Did you guys see all the symbolism in the Super Bowl last night? The symbolism was rampant, rampant. And they gave us a huge clue. Well, they told us outright what's going to happen. We could see what's happening. So look at what you had. You had Adam Levine. Who cares? We had SpongeBob. And SpongeBob, as we've seen before, they give us clues all the time through shows, through programming. 9/11, right? The Matrix, Neo's passport, expired on September 11th, 2001. That was a huge clue. This movie was made prior to that date. And it was telling us when our passport was going to expire, when lockdown was going to happen, and we knew it. And we've seen it with The Simpsons. The Simpsons told us there's going to be a President Trump. You know what? There is a President Trump. And SpongeBob too. Don't ever doubt what they're telling us. So look at this. How many trumpets do you see? 4, 7, 10, 13. There's 13 and there's 3. So that gives us 16 trumpets. Wow, 16 trumpets. Keep that in mind. What did we see coming from the sky in the Super Bowl halftime show? We saw asteroids. We saw meteors coming on down. Fireballs. Was that divine judgment? Was that the tail of Nibiru coming down? Is that what we were talking about? Fireballs from the sky coming down is what they're telling us. You know, think about the times we live in. We've seen tons of fireballs coming from the sky. We have so much talk of Nibiru right now. And if you ever check out Dave Dobbs and my buddy Steve over at WSO, Dave Dobbs has talked about the fact that we're in the tail of Nibiru right now, and that is a real danger. And I've told you about my friend Tony, and he has contacted me because he's gotten a message of divine judgment, so to speak, coming in the form of fire from the sky and in the form of 3 big what's going to be big meteor strikes. And so they're showing us this. They're showing us this divine fire from the sky as Travis Scott is performing. And the song that he did was called Sicko Mode. And there's the lyrics here for you guys to check out. This is the song that's playing when fire from the sky comes down, Sicko Mode. So what was the final score of the game? 13-3. So 13 defeated 3. The Rams and the Patriots. Now, if you were to pick a team to represent, the U.S., I mean, you might pick the Patriots. Just not saying that you got to be a Patriot fan. Saying that, what is the Patriots? Well, the Patriots, well, you see basically a colonial militiaman on the symbol. And it's all about, the War of Independence and the Patriots, the founding of the nation. Well, look at the numerology. 13. 13 defeats 3. So let's go to the tarot. What is the 13th card in the tarot? It's death. So you're saying 13 is defeating 3. When we look at the death card, we see death riding on a pale horse. Ooh, that's pretty creepy, pretty scary. We see this guy with this fish hat. We've talked about the fish hat. That comes from the Dagon cult, and that is your Catholic Pope right there. The Roman Catholic Church uses this ancient hat, which represents the gods that they worshipped, that came from the sea, that gave mankind a lot of his knowledge. And so, Dagon is a fish god, and this is clearly an official wearing a papal hat. And right next is a woman that looks absolutely distressed, and she's looking away from death. and she's on her knees. She looks like she's ready to be basically struck down and just accepting it. And so when we look at this card is all about death coming. And who is death coming for? Death is coming for the Pope, and death is coming for the woman. And so when we look into this number 3 card, it's the Empress. And, it's the symbol of many things. You could take a lot of these things on different levels. You could take it as the divine feminine. However, we could also take this in a different sense. This could be the woman that sits basically on her throne and is ruling the world. And so when we see the fact that it really does look like Revelations is playing out in front of our eyes, and that's part of what's going on here. We talked about Albert Pike, and we talked about in 1871 he made a statement saying that the Illuminati, of who he basically is thought to be one of them, or an agent tour of, he was a 33rd degree Mason, and in 1871 he said there's going to be 3 world wars. And World War II was going to come about in a big sense, and a big reason, was in order to create the restoration of Israel, bring Israel back into existence, to bring about the conditions which will help bring in the 3rd World War. And so when we look at this, we could look at this in many ways, but we can also take this to be the mystery Babylon, the great harlot, as well. And so when we add 13 plus 3 together, we get 16. What is the 16th card of the tarot? It's the Tower, which is sudden destruction. Look at the lightning coming from the heavens, the fire from the sky, the Tower, fire burning, clouds. We see clouds in our skies every day, the chemtrail clouds. And you see humanity falling. We see destruction, sudden destruction from above. In this case, it's coming from the all-seeing eye. See the beams coming out of the all-seeing eye, coming down and destroying the Tower. Again, the clouds in the sky, the fire burning, humanity falling, the crown of the Empress off her head and falling to the ground, the cross inverted and falling to the ground. And this is the Empress's crown. This is the crown of the harlot, she that sits on the 7 seas. So this we see clearly right in front of us. So 13-3, death defeats the harlot, or death is coming for the harlot. And we've talked, this all comes out of Revelation and Babylon the Great. And the Babylon the Great is more than just an individual nation. It's a system, but it's also a nation that's being used. And who won? The winner was the goat. And did you guys see that? You didn't realize that the winner was the goat, as we see the Patriot here. The goat won. And who is the goat? Well, Tom Brady is officially the goat. The GOAT, Tom Brady. The symbolism, go team. The symbolism of even the teams involved. The GOAT, Baphomet. And then we have this. We have 5 dead after a small plane falls apart in the sky and crashes into a California home, killing 4 people who were inside doing what? Watching the Super Bowl. And so it was a Cessna 414. And 414 equals 9. 9 is completion in numerology. So there was 1 person in the plane, and we had 4 people in the house. The plane was seen falling from the sky in a fireball. Where do we see the fireballs? Well, we see fireballs everywhere, right? You know, we have the fireballs coming from the sky that they're showing us here. And then we had the fireballs in the tower. And so here is the microcosm and the macrocosm. Here is potentially, was this some sort of coincidence, or was this some sort of sacrifice? So the owners were throwing a Super Bowl party at the time of a crash. The plane came to a stop in the backyard of a couple next door who were not harmed. 4 people were inside the house it destroyed. And the plane was made in 1981, which, you look into this and the symbolism, and it's all there. And 1981 is 10, it's 19, add them together, and you get a 1 and a 9 is 10, and 10, that's a 1, so that's new beginnings. And so it's all the symbolism that we see. The symbolism was so rampant, and they show us these things all the time. And so we were talking about cities on 7 hills, the complete beast, quote-unquote, system, which includes Rome, which sits on 7 hills. Jerusalem sits on 7 hills. So, Rome is obviously the Bible, the New Testament. It's what started with Constantine the Great, and was all about continuing the empire and controlling people. And we have the Old Testament, and we have Jerusalem there, and then we have the banking center of the world in London, and we have the military center of the world in D.C. All of them are cities on 7 hills. And that's one of the things, that's how it describes Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great. Make America great again. Coincidence that we're using that terminology. Babylon the Great. Make America great again. Think about that. Is that just simple coincidence? There's no coincidences. Everything has been planned from the get-go. Everything is basically a script being played out. And so upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, Revelation 17:5. Just a coincidence? What's on his forehead? Great. Is that just really a coincidence? There's no coincidences, my friends. Mystery Babylon the Great. So what are they telling us? Well, Nostradamus, has given us prophecies also about the Pope leaving Rome and the destruction of Rome. If you caught my earlier video, there's a swarm of quakes going on right now in Greece and in Turkey, and all that energy moves up towards Rome. There has been quite a bit of activity in Rome as well, and we've talked about various volcanoes in the area that are waking up and ready to go. And then we have the prophecy of Malachi, who spoke about there being only so many popes, and basically we're there now. So we're at that last pope now. All these things go together. All these things add up. So when we look at what are they telling us, with the fire coming from the sky, with the 16 horns, right? And when we're talking about these SpongeBob trumpets that were going off, where do we hear trumpets being blown before? We hear it in Revelations, and the angels blowing the trumpets, right? And when you look at it, look at their eyes. look at this one's eye over here. Whoa, he's kind of scared. There's various expressions on their faces, but the blowing of the trumpets, they're telling us what is right about on top of us right now. It's basically, are they saying this is the year? Because the Super Bowl comes every year. It's an annual thing. So if they're having this symbology going on now, are they saying this is the year that the trumpets blow, and that, again, 13-3, is this the year we're going to see death come for the Empress, which is depicted representing basically the beast system, and primarily the U.S. and Rome. Tower, sudden destruction, sudden death coming from the sky in fire, as we see all this symbology. Now also, what else is the goat? What else is the goat, guys? It's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. And they love sacrifice on the biggest levels. And so, sacrifices were held at the temple. And so there's so many different references. Some people believe, and we have seen mentioned, that the red heifer has been born as well. And, all these things, it's all this symbolism that we see being fulfilled. And boy, do they love symbolism. They're all about symbolism. And I've quoted you guys before, 1871. Coincidentally, 1871, we got the Albert Pike prophecy, where he basically, it wasn't even a prophecy, he just said, hey, they're planning 3 world wars, and this is what they're going to do. And he was a 33rd degree Mason. He was a 33rd degree Mason, and he said the Second World War is going to be all about bringing back Israel, restoring Israel, so it could be used to create the Third World War, basically. It's just one creating another. And so, they sacrificed goats, and the goat has the patriot on his arm. And what does the patriot symbolize? So what is all this telling us? And 1871, the other thing was the Banking Act of 1871, which effectively took away the financial freedom of the U.S. after the Civil War had wrecked it financially. So what do we have going on, guys? We have a clear reference to death coming for the Empress. Sudden destruction from above, fire from the sky. Make of it what you will. Fire from the sky. Whether that's from Nibiru's tail, or whether that's from ICBMs or tsunami bombs or who knows what. This is what they're telling us is in store for this year, because this is an annual event. At least that's the interpretation that's coming to me. And so share with me what you guys think. Please do. And, we could always be wrong, but boy, this was some clear evidence. At least that's the way I view it. Looking at all the symbolism of what they've given us, because they are all about symbolism, ritual, sacrifices, etc., etc. So, my friends, as always, thumbs up, support the channel. Please do subscribe, click the bell, make sure you get all the notifications, share with as many as possible, wake up people to what's coming, and let's be prepared every way, especially spiritually, but also, of course, physically, emotionally, mentally, and let's wake up as many people as possible to what's going on. So hopefully we could actually save lives and make things, make the best out of whatever is coming by working together. So I look forward to your comments, my friends. God bless, and namaste.